Hello, this is Brian Hegney, instructor of game and interactive media design. I am only going to do the first unwrap because you're not going to need to see all of it. But I want to show you how I start and then how I use pelt mapping or seam mapping in Unwrap UVW mapping to kind of do this whole thing. So let's go ahead and with this object selected, click a modifier and type in unwrap for Unwrap UVW. Click it. And it's got a really terrible default unwrapping. Let's go ahead and open up UV Editor. I think it's always fun to click on Texture Checker UV to see how it's unwrapping. Oh, goodness, that's terrible, right? So you can see that if you were to put in even like a wood texture, it would look so bad. It's all distorted, except for why are the legs awesome? Why the legs are awesome is because remember when I started with a cylinder? The primitive cylinder comes already unwrapped pretty well. So that's actually why that looks kind of good. And then of course I extruded everything upwards and outwards, and that's why that looks so terrible. Great. Now, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to select absolutely everything. You know what's really annoying though? I still have these little guys in the background. Let me go ahead and right-click my object and say Isolate Selection. Yeah, now I don't have the pictures in the background. I can go back to Open UV Editor. I'm going to select absolutely every polygon. But did I really select every polygon? No, because I always forget to uncheck Ignore Backfacing. Now when I make that selection, every single polygon is selected. There's a really cool tool here in 3D Studio Max that allows me under Explode to flatten by smoothing group. I could also flatten by material ID if I wanted to, flatten custom, flatten by angle. One video I watched that I believe my students have watched said one person will take, one person I was watching will flatten by polygon angle, and that will kind of automatically add, in the software he was using, will automatically add smoothing groups to it, but I already have smoothing groups, so I'm going to go ahead and flatten by smoothing groups. And you can see when I do that, look at all the seams. When I flatten by smoothing group, it actually unwraps every component by that smoothing group, obviously, and then we'll do that seam. Okay, now what I want to do, I'm seeing something I'm not loving, but I'm not going to talk about it, is come in here, and I'm actually going to uncheck that. That looks good so far. I'm going to select by using the select element toggle, selecting the little belly here, and I'm going to show you a new way of unwrapping for my students. Some of you may already know this, and it's called Pelt Mapping. And what it's essentially mimicking is, not to get too gruesome, but when you go hunting, and I don't hunt, so because I would not be able to do that, I like cuddling animals, not skinning them, even though I know we need to eat. When you skin an animal, you need to select, oh, you know what's annoying? Now I can't remember the front. Oh, this is the front, right, because his head pushes the bigger pieces on the left side when I'm facing him. You have to, if you want to preserve the pelt to make clothing or any sort of material, you want to get the largest sheet possible. So in where you cut an animal's skin to skin it is really important. And this is essentially what we're doing. We're going to cut seams in our little 3D model character, and we are going to pull the skin off of it like it's an animal that we killed and are preserving the skin for. So let's go ahead and in our Unwrap UVW modifier, turn off map seams so we don't see them anymore. I am going to use peel seams because I actually want to add another seam. This just flattened it. This just flattened by smoothing group. I want to do something a little bit more. So actually, you know what? I'm going to select all of these and just move them out of the way. Now I'm going to select this one, move this in here. And I'm going to say, okay, don't show me my map seams, but show me my peel seams. And I haven't made any peel seams. So what I'm going to do is section 2, click point to point, and I'm going to click on the model itself. Actually, you know what? Can I do this? No. I'm going to click, select this. I'm going to click point to point here. Well, let me go start with edit seams, because with edit seams you can click here on the model and actually start telling it where you want it to go. Where do you want this seam to be? And I'm going to turn on my edged faces so you can see them. And this is where I'm clicking. Right there. That's where I want my model to be selected. And I could do the same thing here and say, you know what, this is where I want to go. But the other thing I can do is use this tool called point-to-point seams. And in that, I'm going to click where I want to start. And if I were to come here to this edge, you can see how it's highlighting where it's going to create a seam. Well, I obviously just want it to go along that one. And it's going to choose the point of the least amount of distance. And so it's going to draw a straight line around that. And so I'll try to do as few, because I'm lazy, I'm going to do as few lines as possible. Click there. When you're done, like I don't want to start down here now because it's going to draw another line, you're going to right click. 3D Max, you always right click to disable a tool. And now I'm going to start again by drawing that point and kind of coming here and drawing around the legs. And doing that. There we go. All right. And now that I've created these seams, what we're going to do is now actually start pulling it apart like it's animal skin. So let's go ahead and click on the entire thing here. Our seams are still valid, that's fine. And now what we're going to do is use a tool here that looks like an animal skin being pulled apart. It's Pelt Map. Click on it. The yellow rim here is the pelt, and let's just, hopefully we can find a black and white image. Let me pause it so I don't show anything gruesome. Yeah, so here is an example of an animal skin being pulled apart and stretched with this frame here, right? And so we've got two things. We've got the polygons that we're going to pull apart and stretch, and then we've got the stretcher, right? So when we're in 3D Studio Max, we can click on Pelt Options and say, I want to select the stretcher, because I often like to scale the stretcher. You can scale the stretcher just like you can scale the polygons. And I'm going to scale this out because it just needs a little bit of room to relax. Once you're done scaling your stretcher out fairly large, you're going to select your pelt UVs now. Okay? Our pull strength, I'll leave this at 0.1 and I'll leave all of these the same. What I want to do now is start our pelt. And you can see it's stretched it out on our canvas pretty well. And I'm going to go ahead and move this. I'm not going to accept it yet. I want to actually see what that does. So I'm going to click on Texture Checker. And you can see that it's really wavy. Just because it's straight here and it looks like it might be good, guess what? That doesn't mean it's actually good. It's a little bit too distorted, and like not all of the squares are the same size. And so you know that's distorted. And so what I'm going to do is start relax. I'm going to click Start Relax and Stop Relax, and then it should have updated. It's still a little bit hard to tell because it's not rotated, and it's not going to do that. But what I want to do is actually, I'm going to hit Settings for Relaxing, and I'm going to increase the amount to 1. Start Relax again, and that's fine. It didn't really do much of anything. Okay. And I am going to commit to this. And so now I'm going to select the commit button. And from here, I'm going to scale this down and rotate it so that the hip, right, the top of the thing is there, and I can kind of take a look at it. There's a little bit of weirdness that I don't like, and whoops, it's still on rotation mode, and that is the waist. I really want the waist, the top of the, not waist, the top of the jar to be straight. So I'm going to go ahead and do that myself once I pretty much got it pretty nice for the most part. I'm going to want to take all of these polygons or these edges on the top and straighten them out. You see how it dips here? That's not really how it should dip. So I'm going to do that by using the edge selection mode, selecting the entire edge by double clicking it. Let me turn off select by element. And then I'm going to, with that edge selected, I'm going to click over here under quick transform, align horizontally, and you can see that aligned these top things. And I'm going to go ahead and hold down my move tool and just select the vertical move option and drag this upward a little bit. And I'm just going to keep doing that, selecting this by double clicking just the horizontal one, clicking align horizontally, and then raising this up a little bit. And I'm just going to keep doing that until these are pretty much, until all of the UVs are fairly consistently sized. And I'm going to have to orbit around my scene a little bit to kind of see how that goes. Yeah. And I'm just going to move this like that. I'm going to keep that as it is. You'll see what happens with the seam. It's like it doesn't line up there. Well, you won't necessarily see that. It won't necessarily look bad. Well, these are rectangles. I don't like how that's looking. So I might spend a little bit of time making these squares and not rectangles. If they're rectangles, that means they're distorted because these are squares, so when they're mapped onto the body, they should be squares. As square as they can be. And with that, I'm going to call this quits. There we go. And I guess the last thing I'm going to do is just select this, all of the polygons. Let's go into polygon selection mode, select all of the polygons, and I'm going to not rescale this, but kind of pack this normalized. Oh, it packed everything in there. Okay, that's fine. And we can see how that works. Okay, in the next video, you're going to see me do pretty much the same process for absolutely everything else. Making a seam, and whatnot. Okay, see you in the next video. There will be no audio for me talking. I'm just going to do it. You can watch it. Bye.